So I made a poll a few days ago on my community tab asking the people what game they wanted me to play for the Christmas special. I don't actually know if this video will come out on Christmas Day, but quite frankly, I don't really care. If it does happen to fall on that day though, Merry Christmas. Anyways, I chose some games that were on Xbox Game Pass that I was interested in playing and narrowed the options down to 5, and the majority of the votes went to Batman Arkham Knight. Now, this game is a minimum of 16 hours, and I simply cannot play the entire fucking game, script it all, and pump a video out even before New Year's. I'm just not gonna sit on my ass 12 hours a day working on this, I'm sorry. But after I started to play the game, I realized a little issue that tickled my scrotum for a bit. This game is apparently the 4th and most recent in a series of games, but I also realized that everybody knows who fucking Batman is and probably doesn't need a lore refresher. The only really important thing to note is that we kill Joker at some point before this game. Honestly, there's probably more important shit, but I'm not gonna just sit down and read this entire novel for each game. I mean, look at this, who actually reads this shit? Anyways, with that long-winded intro, let's get into Batman Arkham Knight. The game begins 9 months after the Joker was cremated, which I guess happened. Batman explains that after Joker died, there was supposed to be some kind of power struggle, but it never came and crime fell. But I mean, this is Gotham, so the peace didn't last for long. I take on the perspective of a GCPD cop getting some late night snacks at a diner. I'm chillin', drinking my coffee until some Boy Scout comes up to me shitting his pants over someone smoking in one of the booths. When I went to confront the man, things got a little out of hand. Turns out my coffee was laced with LSD and everyone in the diner starts going batshit crazy. After I was swallowed by one of the zombies, a character named Scarecrow appears on the Jumbotron talking that shit. He told everybody that compared to tomorrow, this event will seem like nothing. He also said that tomorrow night on Halloween, he would release his fucking fear gas throughout the city. Now, while everyone evacuates the city, let me explain a little about Scarecrow. Scarecrow is a villain that essentially uses fear and some drugs to fuck with his victims. He basically makes people think that they're in danger using their fears. Okay, back to the game. Now, people weren't really all too happy about Scarecrow's threat, and they all left, except for the very worst of them. Only the thugs and criminals stayed, now having an area where they could do as they please. It's basically the purge. Oh, and the cops stayed, which is, you know, kind of a dumbass move. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish. And in the middle of it all, there's Batman. Somehow, I gotta restore Gotham back to order and defeat Scarecrow. On top of that, Gotham's other villains are still here, and you can be damn sure they'll show up as well. After getting into a little altercation with some of the hooligans of the city, I meet up with James Gordon, who's some old-ass motherfucker that Batman still hangs around. I asked about the lead on Scarecrow when I noticed Batman's fucking neck. Holy shit. I mean, I know Batman is a big-ass dude, but damn. Bro's doing 1,000 shrugs a day with that neck. Sorry, back to the lead. Gordon apparently found a, quote, unknown military vehicle speeding through Chinatown. It might be a weak lead, but it's the only one we got. I told Gordon that I would take care of it and investigate the vehicle with my big-ass neck. I then just kind of like fucking left, which is kind of a bitch move. On top of that, I also Skyped Gordon's daughter, who was supposed to be evacuated. Batman is kind of an asshole. The girl, Oracle, gave me the location of a missing officer, and I went on my merry way to go save the man. Now, for just a bit, this is going to be painful to watch because I wasn't familiar with Batman's whack-ass controls. I mean, it took me like 45 minutes to travel half a mile, but once I got there, I found some more thugs surrounding a police officer about to beat the shit out of him. I swiftly took care of the mindless criminals and was helping the cop up when that military vehicle I mentioned earlier tried to turn us into paste. I stranded the cop on top of a building, which will be a trend in this game, and hopped into the Batmobile. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty damn cool. I chased down the vehicle, witnessing it disintegrate a squad car in the process. After that, I fired some shit at it, destroying the car. I then interrogated the driver, who looked like a character from Outlast. Bro really tried to stab me, and when I threatened to crush every bone in his body, he caved immediately. He told me that Scarecrow was working out of a penthouse in Chinatown, which was all he knew. After he gave me what I wanted, I broke his bitch-ass arm and called Oracle. I told her about the new lead I got and started to head there. I made the reckless decision of running in there without taking any previous recon, and there were a bunch of guys dressed up in armored suits. The subtitles labeled them militia, and one of them bitch slapped me upon my entrance. This caused me to go on a rampage, fucking them all up. After taking care of the militia, I turned around and saw Poison Ivy locked up with a gun to her head and Scarecrow in the background. The militia dude started saying some shit about blowing her brains out if I tried anything stupid, but then she farted, disorienting the man. She then exited the cell and I got a shot of her slimy ass feet. I'm gonna censor that to save you all from the horrors I had to witness. She then told Batman about why Scarecrow locked her up. According to Ivy, this all started with a meeting that Scarecrow called and everyone was there, including her, Penguin, Two-Face, Riddler, and Harley Quinn. The meeting was about trying to kill me, which was flattering, and when Ivy said she wasn't interested interested, Scarecrow locked her up like the little piss baby he is. I began to take Ivy to the GCPD lockup when some militiamen came out of nowhere with military vehicles and fucking tanks. I'm not sure where they got those from, but okay. After they trained their guns on me, I got a little nervous and called in the Batmobile. As I was driving, I got attacked by some of those tanks, and because I didn't know the controls of the Batmobile at all, I got fucked. Like, quite a few times. But I eventually got my shit together and started going crazy. I can now confidently say that I am a master of the Batmobile. I then took Ivy to the precinct and was almost shot by some dumbass cops who don't know what the fucking Batmobile is. Once Ivy was locked up in a cell, I walked around the place and discovered that it looked like utter shit. I mean, come on, do they not decorate every once in a while? I went over to talk to Gordon, who told me that all kinds of shit was popping up that I had to look into. First of all, a bunch of firefighters went missing and I gotta save them. Secondly, they found a mutilated body strung up that they couldn't look much into before the city was evacuated. And finally, there have been multiple sightings of the Riddler around the train yard, and it looks like I'm gonna have to check that little shit. I decided to look for the Riddler first and left the precinct toward his last sighting. Once I got there, I found this conveniently sized elevator that was just able to fit my Batmobile. Once inside, I started to descend and the Riddler came up on the wall. It looks like this is his day off because he was in his casual clothing. He was spewing some random shit out of his mouth to pass the time, and once the elevator got to its destination, I left only to find myself in a whole ass racing track created by the man himself. This is actually quite a nice gesture from him. He created an entire time trial for me to hone my Batmobile skills and have some fun in the process. Thanks, Riddler. I needed this. Anyways, I completed the time trial eventually and continued on to more important things. Next, I wanted to save one of those firefighters and drove my way to one of their locations. The rescue mission was pretty damn easy, seeing as I had to smash through the roof and take down like 5 people. After I did that, I untied the fireman and left him there among the bodies. After that, the game notified me that I had acquired an upgrade point and I found a network of upgrades that I could get. After searching through them for a bit, I chose to increase the Batmobile's armor defense by 25%, the aerial juggle, which I never used, and the Batclaw super stun, which I also never used. After that, I snapped myself out of the side quest grind and got back to the main story. I went to the clock tower where Oracle was and that we were using as a secret meeting place. I messed with the computer a bit about to search up some naughty things when Oracle walked in. Well, walked isn't really the right word. Anyways, we found a sample of some toxin that Scarecrow used, and after doing some science shit, we traced the origin of the toxin back to Ace Chemicals. I began to make my way over there when I found one of those mutilated bodies on a wall. The strange thing is, this wasn't the same body that was reported. I used my super special scanner on the body and found that the cause of death was an overdose of painkillers that led to cardiac arrest. In addition, the person's fingerprints were burned off with acid. I also found that the identity of the person was Franklin Accardo, who had a history of drug-related offensive in and out of prison from an early age. He was serving a 20-year sentence at Blackgate Prison before being released for a heart condition. He then moved to Little Rock, Arkansas, which is where he was reported missing. The strange thing is, this little scallywag was taken from Arkansas to Gotham and killed. And that's pretty much all we have so far. Back to our regularly scheduled Scarecrow hunting. While I was trying to pinpoint Scarecrow's location, Robin's bitch ass called me up asking to hang out with me. Little fucker couldn't take a hint when I tried to respectfully decline, and he kept begging me. I eventually got him off the call and finally made my way to Ace Chemicals. There, I find Gordon and some other officers blocking the entrance, and Gordon tells me that the whole place is shut down with the possibility of a crew still being inside. While I'm talking to him, some helicopter just fucking appears and shoots the bridge connecting to the facility. You know, nobody was getting in. That was a little unnecessary. Like the badass that I am, I decide to walk into the explosion, and the militia guy on the inside locks onto me with his fucking 144p camera. Like, seriously, they have this much money to make a multi-million-dollar helicopter and they get streams like this? What the fuck? Anyways, the guy on the inside decides not to shoot me, and when the camera turns to him, we find that this guy isn't just some normal militiaman. But that's for later. For now, the doors open and 2 big-ass tanks come out with their guns trained on me. Batman makes the smart decision for once and assumes that might be a little too much for him to handle, hiding behind a cop car with Gordon. After the tanks leave, I come from behind cover to find out what the fuck's up. I scaled the building, and when I looked over the edge, I found a very small army entering the helicopter. Oracle told me that there was a Black Ops team in Venezuela that discovered a hidden training facility housing soldiers bearing the same insignia as these ones. Unfortunately, information on their commander is still unknown, but there is one thing that everybody agrees on. His name is the Arkham Knight. After the soldiers left with the helicopter, I used my detective ability to scan the place, finding 5 armed soldiers and many tanks. I began my task of systematically concussing every one of the soldiers, and when I was done, I accessed this terminal to find the ID codes of the workers left in the facility. I then reached the tallest point in the place so I could use my handy-dandy bat scanner to locate them. Once I pinpointed all the workers, I got to work saving them all. I started by going to this little corner, beating the shit out of more militiamen, and proceeded to not save the worker. Good job, Nick. I then went to the next worker's location and found that I was too late for this one. They had already killed him. Oh, the humanity. A man has died in Gotham. What a tragic day this is. It's almost like if Batman Batman gave up his whole stupid fucking gimmick about not killing people that more wouldn't die. Maybe if he just decided to kill his enemies instead of locking them up in weak-ass cells, crime would fall. But that's just my opinion. Feel free to let loose about the philosophy of Batman and why he's actually right in the comments below. I also opened the gates to Ace Chemicals so I could let my Batmobile in. Once I remote controlled the thing to drive in, I fucking hopped into the driver's seat and started maneuvering around the tanks. And just look at this shit. You can't tell me that I'm not fucking amazing at this. It's possible that I'm the best damn person that ever touched this game. I found my next worker trapped in a building with more militia and I had to pull down a wall to save him. So I got the Batmobile to the wall, deployed my little fucking grappling hook device and started pulling that shit down. Once the wall was destroyed, I started shooting the people inside. Again, Batman doesn't kill people, so these shots are somehow not lethal. Makes sense. After the troublemakers were knocked out, I saved the worker inside from his little predicament. Unfortunately, Batman is a dumbass and allows himself to get trapped inside the glass while more militia and the Arkham Knight flooded in. He began to tell his men about the ins and outs of my suit, telling them where to shoot if I were to escape. While he was boasting, telling me why he was going to win, I got my Batmobile ready and started shooting his men. When he saw that shit was going south, he immediately got the fuck out of there and I hospitalized the rest of his men. After I helped the worker from his restraints, he told me about Scarecrow's plan. He basically told me that Scarecrow is planning on creating a big enough fear bomb to release throughout the entirety of the East Coast. So that's alarming. I then took the man to the safety of the bridge and went back inside to continue my work. And after I fought a band of ninjas on top of a crane and found another dead worker, Oracle called me again to convince me to let Robin help. This little fucker doesn't know when to quit, does he? Anyways, I then traveled to the basement where I found the Arkham Knight and some militia harassing a worker having quite the jolly time. I kind of intruded on their little party by entering through the vents and giving them a scare. After the fight, I assured the worker in my most comforting voice.
It's okay. You're safe.
The guy then told me that I was too late and that Scarecrow was in the central mixing chamber about to release his toxin. I saved the worker as fast as I could before going back down to confront Scarecrow. Well, before I went back down, I actually had to go through a little boss fight with the Arkham Knight and like 50 fucking tanks, but that's another story. After that battle, which gave me shit XP, I could finally stop Scarecrow, but we all know that it's much too late by now. Nonetheless, I had to try and I went back down to the basement. Eventually, I came across the mixing chamber that Scarecrow was in and I had to first clear out the room around him before confronting the man. Once I did that, which was a much harder task than it needed to be, I entered his room and finally faced the Scarecrow. It looks like he pissed his pants a little when he saw me because he immediately put his hands over his head and got on his knees. Batman did not accept this though and fucked his face up. As I was giving him an old-fashioned beatdown, he told me that if I did not let him go, then Oracle would die. Batman was understandably a little shaken by these words and called Oracle to check on her situation. It does appear that Batman has made yet another stupid fucking decision though, because he just threw Scarecrow towards the door, allowing him to escape and trap Batman inside. After his critical error, I had to step in and hack the mainframe with my supreme computer ability skills. I told Alfred that my plan was to reduce the blast radius from the entirety of the East Coast to just Ace Chemicals. Not sure how that one's gonna pan out, but I guess we'll see. So I did some hacking, picked up some big tubes and put them in other places, and was confronted by a dead Joker. Damn, the toxin must have already been released, because this is just fucking with my head now. Oh, that's literally what's happening. Cool. Also, right when the Joker hallucination confronted me, the game switched me to a perspective of Gordon, which I guess I'll explain because it's like kind of important to the story and all. So in this interlude, I go down to an elevator to find a room with 5 prison cells housing various people. Batman made a surprise appearance after I looked at all of the cells, and he explained to me that these people are all infected with Joker's blood. As a result, they are literally turning into the fucking Joker. So it appears as if Batman has locked up a collection of edgy Redditors. Oh, and Batman said that the 5th cell is for someone that's yet to be captured. So it seems as if we have one more Joker out there to collect. I woke up on the ground because Batman's a little bitch and couldn't handle seeing his nemesis, so he passed out on the ground instead like a fucking cartoon character. So I guess I have to deal with Joker talking to me all the fucking time now because he lives in my head. I'm a crazy person now. Anyways, I called in my Batmobile to get us out of here and I escaped. And just look at this shit right here. Not gonna lie, pretty badass. And I was successful in reducing the blast radius, meaning that Scarecrow's plan was foiled by yours truly. But now it looks like we have a new issue. A much bigger issue. Because now it looks like I'm gonna have to be the one to tell Gordon that his daughter was taken, and it was my fault.